Hello everyone, please press subscribe, press follow, press the bell so you don't miss any new clips. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Author by Heavenly Overlord. Translator by NYOIBO Studio. Audio novels by Novelist. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 191, Poisonous Black Queen Bee. I shall take my leave as well. Su Yu flew 30 miles towards the east hastily. A long time passed before Su Yu's silhouette descended in front of a black bee which was decomposing. When he fixed his eyes on that bee and observed, that bee had a huge physique that was about the size of a pig. It had a dark body and it looked ferocious. At its tail, there was a hideous black sting that was curled up. A lump of blood had dried up on the sting. As expected, this bee died after stinging someone. Su Yu understood what had happened. The blood which had dried up belonged to human beings. However, he did not know who was stung and whether that person was transported out. Su Yu flew high up into the sky, looked around, and examined the situation within a 50 miles radius. Suddenly, 50 miles away, which is the limit of his eyesight, he saw a black beehive that was about the size of a small house. Ferocious black bees were flying in and out of the beehive one by one and their mouths contained precious honey. Could it be, it's there? Su Yu's gaze turned serious. Suddenly, Su Yu also discovered that somewhere near the beehive, there were two people hidden there. They were Chan Yunfei, who was ranked number 5, and Duan Yanyu, who was ranked number 7. They looked as if they were spying on the beehive and waiting for a good opportunity to strike. Su Yu's eyes flashed. He quietly approached the beehive and stopped 3 miles away from it. Su Yu then secretly observed Chan Yunfei and Duan Yanyu. Junior Duan, are you sure that the honey fermented by the queen bee can save my younger brother? Chan Yunfei's beautiful eyes were filled with anxiousness and she turned her head to look at Duan Yanyu, who was behind her. Duan Yanyu looked normal. His age was similar to Chan Yunfei, which was around 25 years old. He smiled. It is definitely true. This kind of bees are known as the poisonous black bees, and its ability are between Dragon Realm Level 1 lower tier and Dragon Realm Level 1 upper tier. Only the queen bee would achieve Dragon Realm Level 2 peak. The poisonous sting at the tail of a normal poisonous black bee contains a deadly poison that spells death when you are stung by it. If you want to treat the poison, you would need the honey secreted by the queen bee. Duan Yanyu specialized in controlling spiritual beasts and he was rich in knowledge regarding spiritual beasts in the universe. Chan Yunfei's anxious expression was slightly eased. After the three of them entered level 2, they came across a poisonous black bee. Chan Leiyun was carelessly stung by the poisonous black bee and he was poisoned. By relying on his spiritual energy, he managed to barely suppress the poison. If the poison spread across his body and put his life to be in danger, he would be transported out by the ancient temple. Chan Leiyun was waiting for them to bring back an antidote to save him. Junior Duan, I will leave everything to you. No one noticed Duan Yanyu give off an evil smile. His deep eyes were filled with a reluctance to leave and he looked at Chan Yunfei's plump and charming body. He then gave an evil smile. I will naturally do my very best. However, Senior Sister must honor your promise. Firstly, Senior Sister will be in charge of capturing the queen bee alive and all the honey obtained will belong to me. Secondly, before I give you the honey to treat the poison, Senior Sister, please don't forget what you have promised. After hearing what was said, Chan Yunfei's pretty face turned cold and her eyes were glowing with disgust. Duan Yanyu actually took advantage of her misfortune to do her harm. He cast greedy eyes on her good locks, used her little brother to threaten her, and requested for her to comply with his request. I understand. Chan Yunfei promised him and a flash of coldness flashed past her clear eyes. Duan Yanyu grinned coldly. However, do not take any reckless actions for now. At the very moment, the queen bee is laying bees and there are many poisonous black bees protecting her. Although you are strong, if you show yourself recklessly, it will be difficult to avoid all the attacks of the poisonous black bees. Let's wait for one day quietly for the poisonous black bees defending the beehive to disperse. It is not too late for you to enter afterward. Chan Yunfei's beautiful eyebrows turned down. I guess we can only do that. Su Yu overheard the conversation between the both of them and he revealed a strange expression. Is the queen bee's honey different from the rest of the poisonous black bees? At that moment, a Dragon Realm Level 1 lower tier poisonous black bee flew past Su Yu's head to collect pollen and ferment honey. Su Yu's eyes flashed and it looked as if it was a golden moon. Incredible moonlit demon eyes. Snort. The poisonous black bee struggled for a while but was mind-controlled in the end. It descended obediently and stopped in front of Su Yu. Go, steal a portion of the honey in return. Su Yu commanded. The poisonous black bee immediately flew back to the beehive and it returned with a portion of the honey in its mouth. The honey was glittering and translucent, sweet and fresh. Looking at it, it was twice the amount that he swallowed previously. Could it be that it is so easy to make a breakthrough to Dragon Realm? Su Yu felt elated. After Yao Hong swallowed a portion of it, she successfully made a breakthrough to Dragon Realm. Filled with anticipation, Su Yu swallowed all the honey in one mouth. However, what caused Su Yu's expression to sink was that, after the majestic amount of energy entered his body, his cultivation base did not make any progress at all. Instead, the energy was expelled from his pores. What is going on? Su Yu was stunned. At that moment, Yunyazi's mockingly voice could be heard from the small jade box in his chest. If the poisonous black honey was so effective, would it still be left lying around for you? It would have already been forcefully seized by the 4 great disciples. When you swallow the poisonous black honey for the first time, it can help to raise your cultivation base. After which, it would only change your body and would not help your cultivation base to progress in any way. After knowing that that was the case, Su Yu felt disappointed. If he had known that this would happen, he would have kept the honey and swallowed it after he had made a breakthrough to Dragon Realm. However, what you swallowed was normal poisonous black honey. If you are able to swallow the queen bee's honey, there will certainly be an effect. At the very least, you will be able to make a breakthrough to Dragon Realm. Su Yu regained his vitality. The queen bee's honey. Go, steal a portion of the queen bee's honey in return. Su Yu commanded. However, who knew that the poisonous black bee would go against him forcefully? The poisonous black bees are extremely loyal to the queen bee and it will be difficult to shatter their loyalty with your cause soul techniques. Yunyazi shook his head. Is that the case? Su Yu's eyes flashed and he looked towards the direction of Chan Yunfei. One day passed before there was some movement in the beehive and most of the poisonous black bees left the beehive in all directions to ferment honey. Duan Yanyu had a delighted expression. Good. The queen bee has flying laying its eggs. Hence, its body is weak and it requires pollen. As such, most of the poisonous black bees left the beehive to look for pollen. Now is the best opportunity to capture the queen bee. Chan Yunfei clenched her silver teeth, turned into smoke, and rushed into the beehive. Consecutive surprised buzzing sounds could be heard and the poisonous black bees were in great disorder. In no time, a pretty shadow turned into a strong wind and rushed out of the beehive with a poisonous black queen bee of the size of a cow in her hands. Let's leave quickly. Chan Yunfei gave a cry and her face turned slightly pale. The poisonous black bees behind her whistled and so many of them gathered together that they blotted out the sky and the sun. Duan Yunyu dared not to stay at his position. He followed Chan Yunfei and ran wildly to about 60 miles away from the beehive. After confirming that no more poisonous black bees were chasing him, both of them started to catch their breath slightly. They carried the queen bee along with them and returned to an underground cave which they unearthed. Deep inside the cave, Chan Leyun's whole face was pitch black as he endured his pain. The poison had spread across his whole body, causing him to feel excruciating pain. At that moment, he was still suppressing the effects of the poison persistently. Whiz, whiz. 2 shadows returned and they were Chan Yunfei and Duan Yanyu. Brother Leyun. Seeing that the poison had spread into Chan Leyun's vitals, Chen Yunfei felt anxious. She used one of her hands to bring the queen bee under control and used her other hand to take out pollen from her chest that she had prepared beforehand. She did not have any intentions to let Duan Yanyu interfere. Duan Yanyu's gaze became narrow. Senior sister, you have promised me two things just now. All of the queen bee's honey would belong to me. Apart from that, you and me. Now, isn't it time for you to honor your promise? Chan Yunfei's pretty face laughed coldly. Scum, I can make the honey by myself, why will I submit to you? She forced the pollen into the queen bee's mouth. After a long time, the queen bee fermented a honey that gave off a sweet-smelling fragrance which filled the air. Comparing to normal honey from the poisonous black bee, the honey fermented by the queen bee contained superb energy. Chan Yunfei's pretty face revealed a joyful expression and she forced the honey into Chan Leiyun's mouth. However, the poison did not go away. Instead, Chan Leiyun's condition became worse. As Chan Leiyun was half awake, he gave off grievous cries. What is going on? Duan Yanyu, you lied to me. Chan Yunfei's beautiful eyes were overflowing with murderous intentions. Duan Yanyu remained calm. He held one of his arms, stood up and he had an evil smile. I lied to you. Of course not. The honey fermented by the queen bee can indeed treat the poison. However, that will require a high-grade pollen. As for the fermented honey made by using the pollen that you collected randomly, apart from stimulating the poison in his body, there are no other uses. As Duan Yanyu gave an evil smile, he took out a medicine bottle from his chest. The medicine bottle contained a purple-colored pollen that was plump, smooth and full of thick spiritual energy. He still had something up his sleeve. Chan Yunfei's pretty eyes flashed and she wanted to snatch the pollen from him. However, a flame rose from Duan Yanyu's palm and surrounded the pollen in the medicine bottle. If you dare to move recklessly, the only pollen will be burned into nothingness immediately. When that time comes, your beloved younger brother will be transported out of the ancient temple and his future will be ruined. Duan Yanyu laughed coldly. Chan Yunfei felt fear in her heart. She went no further abruptly and her pretty face was full of coldness. Duan Yanyu, what do you want to do? Ha ha, what do I want to do? Didn't I tell you already? Duan Yanyu looked at Chan Yunfei's graceful body and his eyes were burning with excitement. When I saw you for the first time, I made an oath that I must obtain you. However, it is a pity that you are a proud person and that you are more talented than me. Hence, I did not have any chances to make my move on you. Your only weakness is your love and care for Chan Leiyun, your little brother. I have heard that once, for him, you were willing to throw your life away. Duan Yanyu's evil smile became bigger. Now, I will give you a choice. Be my woman, or see your little brother's future get ruined helplessly. Chan Yunfei bit her red lips lightly and her pearly white teeth were icy cold. Her pretty eyes glared at Duan Yanyu with hatred. She then gritted her teeth and said every word with a pause. Duan Yanyu, just now, you have made him swallow the honey carelessly. Now, there is only about an hour before his life is in danger. When that time comes and he is transported out, he will be unable to find any opportunities that are equivalent to training in the ancient Xianyan temple for the rest of his life. She could not hesitate any more. Her brilliant eyes spilled tears of humiliation which trickled down her face. Chan Yunfei stared at Duan Yanyu firmly and her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred. However, her soft white hands which were trembling undid her corset. In front of her innocence and the future of her little brother, she chose to sacrifice herself in the end. Duan Yanyu's heart was beating extremely fast and he became thirsty for lust. His eyes were burning with raging flames and he stared at her as she gradually undid her neckline. Rustle. A shadow from outside flew into the cave and a laughter accompanied him. Looks like it's quite lively here. His sudden appearance caused Chan Yunfei to have a panic expression and she covered her neckline. Her pretty face was extremely red and she said surprisingly, Junior Su, did you see everything? Duan Yanyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Su Yu, what is your purpose in coming here? Su Yu ignored him and his gaze landed straight away on that cow-sized queen bee. His eyes then burned with excitement. I am naturally here for the queen bee. After his speech, he took out a jade-like bottle. A lump of 5-color pollen lay inside the bottle quietly. The queen bee, which had been brought under control, suddenly turned wild and impatient, and it looked at the pollen in Su Yu's bottle greedily. According to Yunyazi's words, that ancient pollen in his bottle could refine the rare 100-flowered honey. He could imagine that for the rare word to come out from Yunyazi's mouth, the 100-flowered honey must be something extremely extraordinary. It was logical for the queen bee to have such a reaction. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 192. Breaking into the Dragon Realm. Chan Yunfei's pupils dilated. Junior Su. Can. Not waiting for her to finish speaking, Su Yu smiled. Senior Chan. I'll borrow your queen bee. We'll split the honey. I'll take 90% and you'll have the other 10. Chan Yunfei was tearing, her expression showing the gratitude in her heart. She was on the verge of crying. Thank you, Junior. Su Yu had helped him unconditionally in the meteorite forest, and at this critical moment, he had intervened without any requests. How would Chan Yunfei not be grateful for this? Without him, she would have been violated by Duan Yanyu. But before that, please wait for me for a moment, Junior Su. Let me teach the scheming, despicable person a lesson first. Chan Yunfei wiped away her tears, her eyes adopting a merciless gaze. Duan Yanyu turned pale as a sheet, swallowing vigorously. Senior Chan, we can discuss this. Rumble. Chan Yunfei struck with the intention to kill, fierce and merciless. Duan Yanyu could only block 2 moves before being struck by a palm, flying back with a bloodied mouth. But the direction he was flying in was towards Su Yu. Duan Yanyu had hatred in his eyes. It's all due to your meddling. I'll capture you first. If Chan Yunfei cared about Su Yu, he could salvage this situation. Su Yu let out a mocking smile. Why, aren't you going to first thank me for finding you an advancement stone? Repaying your favors with hatred is not right. Cut your nonsense. Duan Yanyu flared. You dare say this after meddling with my plan? Crash. Duan Yanyu formed a claw with his hands and struck towards Su Yu. Su Yu could only yield to the difference in their cultivation level. Chan Yunfei's expression changed, hurriedly flying over. Be careful, Junior Su. But she was shocked to see Su Yu did not attempt to dodge the attack, instead he took a step forward. A terrifying spirit energy materialized in his hands as he struck. Crash. Palm and claw collided, setting off an explosive sound. Ah! A figure crashed into a stone wall as if a rock that had been catapulted. Wah! A large mouthful of blood sprayed out from his mouth. Who could it be, other than Duan Yanyu? In terms of spirit energy, Su Yu had decidedly triumphed over Duan Yanyu, who was Dragon Realm level 1 upper tier. Chan Yunfei was shocked. In the fight in the Xianyan contest, Su Yu had only barely managed to reach the level of Dragon Realm level 1 upper tier. In just a few days, he had already surpassed that level. After close observation, Chan Yunfei realized that Su Yu had grown from 7th level lower tier Holy King to 7th level peak Holy King. No wonder his spirit energy level had increased explosively. Blinking her fierce eyes, Chan Yunfei flew forward, delivering the fatal blow to the gravely injured Duan Yanyu. Ah, no. The ancient Xianyan temple sensed that Duan Yanyu was in danger of losing his life, and automatically sent him out of its grounds. White light glowed around Duan Yanyu as he disappeared into thin air. He had lost the rare opportunity to train in the ancient Xianyan temple. HMPH. I'll teach you a lesson when I get back to the faction. Chan Yunfei's hatred was hard to quell. But as she thought about her brother, her expression became more muted, hurriedly saying, Junior Su, please do something to save my brother. Su Yu nodded, taking out the 5-color pollen. He took out a thumb-sized piece and stuffed it into the mouth of the queen bee. The queen bee swallowed excitedly, and after some time, a 5-colored crystalline liquid flowed out from its mouth. The glow of the 5 colors was radiant. An alarming fragrance intoxicated many. Just taking a whiff of it caused Su Yu to become giddy. The 5-color liquid harbored great amounts of spirit energy, causing Su Yu to become very excited. Compared to the honey of the poisonous black bee, wasn't the energy of the 5-color honey more than 5 times stronger? It only has 1% of the effectiveness of the 100-flowered honey, but this is enough for you. Keep the pollen. Giving it to this queen bee is a waste. Furthermore, the 5-color honey is only effective the first time you consume it. It is not worth it to make more. Yunyuzi peacefully said. Just a percent was so mind-blowing. Just how scary was the real 100-flowered honey? Suyu felt a little pity for the 5-color pollen, quickly keeping it. Suyu took 90% of the multicolored liquid, filling a small jade bottle. He passed the rest of the honey to Chan Yunfei. Chan Yunfei was immensely grateful but did not know how to repay the favor. But hearing her brother's groans of pain, she hurriedly fed her brother the 5-color honey. After Chan Leiyun consumed the 5-colored honey, the poison within him started to fade. His blackened appearance gradually recovered its red color. Seeing this, Chan Yunfei finally put down her heavy heart. I'll never be able to return you this favor. Chan Yunfei turned around, her eyes harboring tears. Suyu shook his head with a smile. There's no need to. I borrowed your queen bee. It was a win-win situation. After saying this, Suyu wanted to say goodbye. But just as he took his first step, he felt his legs buckle, the world turning upside down as his head turned fuzzy. Elder Yunya, what's happening to me? Suyu was shocked. There's no problem. It's just that the fragrance of the 5-color honey was too intoxicating. You inhaled too much of it and became drunk. You should be fine after resting for a while. Yunyazi calmly said. He looked at Chan Yunfei, who was also giddy and unstable, knocking into obstacles beside her. Knowing that he was merely drunk, Suyu's worry eased. But the world in his eyes was revolving, and he fell into a slumber soon after. While unstable, he did not know where he fell, only feeling something soft and warm under his body. After that, he was completely knocked out. Half a day later, Suyu gradually came to his senses, dizzily shaking his head. Ah! Suddenly, a gentle voice entered his ears. Suyu shook his head, his eyes slowly opening. His body was pressing down on Chan Yunfei. Cold sweat poured from Suyu's forehead. Did they do anything wrong while they were drunk? With an idea in his heart, Suyu immediately stood up, his expression apologetic. Chan Yunfei's face was red with shame and anger. It was lucky that they were still fully clothed. They had not committed the final act. The two stood up in a hurry, each adjusting their clothing. Suyu was a little awkward, wanting to find an excuse to leave. But at this moment, Chan Yunlei woke up with his poison expelled. Even though he had entered a comatose state when he suppressed the poison, he could still see what was going on around him. Suyu had slumped on his sister's body for half a day. But he could not move then. Even though he was extremely anxious and furious, he could not wake up. Suyu, you beast. Once Chan Leiyun woke up, he sprang out with his face full of fury. His large hands struck towards Suyu, who was looking away from him. Suyu's gaze turned cold. Even though he was apologetic, that did not mean that an outsider could direct their temper at him. Leiyun, what are you doing? Chan Yunfei was angry, pointing with her hands, hitting back Chan Leiyun. Seeing how his sister, who doted on him the most, not only not help him, but protect the beast that had defiled her and struck him. He felt that his organs were on fire, howling with his eyes red. Sister, are you mad? That beast had treated you like that, but you. Shut up. Chan Yunfei was blushing but had a fierce look in her eyes. That was an accident. Furthermore, he saved your life. Even if you do not know how to repay him, how could you strike him? Chan Leiyun was fuming. His innocent sister had scolded him in defense of that beast. But sister, this beast, Chan Leiyun felt as though his chest was about to explode. Suyu's cold gaze fell on him. Try calling me beast another time. He could understand Chan Leiyun's feelings, but he could not accept his irrational frenzy. You dare threaten me, you. Chan Leiyun was laughing in fury, about to call him beast again. Slap. A dainty hand slapped across his face. The fiery pain dazed Chan Leiyun. When has his sister ever hit him? You. Chan Leiyun was in disbelief. Chan Yunfei's expression was cold, her teeth clenched. Have you come to your senses? If not, let me slap you a few more times. Chan Liyun's lips quivered but did not speak. He only shot a death glare towards Su Yu. Junior Su, let's say our goodbyes here, you should leave first. Chan Yunfei paid her respects, deeply apologetic. Her face was also unnaturally red. Su Yu was shocked, wishing to say some words of apology to Chan Yunfei. But the situation did not allow him to stay any longer. Take care of yourselves. After saying this, he turned to leave. Sister, why did you stop me? He violated you. Chan Liyun could not control the fury in his heart after Su Yu left. Chan Yunfei still had some blush. I have said it was but an accident, he is not to be blamed. Furthermore, he saved your life, treat whatever that happened as repayment. After saying this, Chan Yunfei's voice was filled with shame and bitterness. Without him, what I would have faced would be even more terrifying. Have you thought of that? Hearing this, Chan Liyun froze, then his expression was that of shame. Duan Yanyu had almost got his way in taking his sister's purity. Without Su Yu and his generosity in giving him the 5-color pollen, his sister would really have been violated. He should be thanking Su Yu, but he did not and instead tried to attack him. It was returning a favor with hatred. But Su Yu, Chan Liyun could not accept this. But in comparison, even though his sister still sacrificed herself, it was better than letting the despicable Duan Yanyu have his way. Don't let me run into Su Yu. Chan Liyun felt injustice. Chan Yunfei shook her head. I also wish that you do not meet him again, for you are definitely not his match. Chan Liyun laughed angrily. Ha ha, am I not his match? Was defeating Duan Yanyu that big of a deal? When we are facing off, Duan Yanyu cannot even hold up to 10 moves of mine. It is my intuition, you are not his match, in fact, even I may be no match for him. Chan Yunfei's expression was grave. Is it? Chan Liyun had a fierce glow in his eyes. Su Yu had left the crypt, feeling the bottle of 5-color honey in his robes, his heart full of anticipation. It is time to break into the dragon realm. But suddenly, Su Yu looked back, squinting his eyes slightly. His gaze gradually turned fierce. You're looking for death on your own, don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Whoosh. Su Yu's figure disappeared. The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 193, The White Tiger's Attack. At the entrance of the cave, Chan Yunfei and her little brother discussed their plan. Sister, take care of the queen bee, I will be on the guard outside the cave. Chan Liyun stood at the entrance and looked around his surrounding. Chan Yunfei nodded her snow-white chin lightly. Understood. As the queen bee has helped out, it is only appropriate for me to release it. I will need some time to remove its restraints and you will stand guard outside. As Chan Yunfei smelt the remnant of the fragrance of the 5-color honey, she could not help but be worried. The 5-color honey made by the fermentation of Su Yu's 5-color pollen was so frightening and strong that it could make him drunk. The cave was open and the remaining fragrance leaked outside. This might attract greedy strong living beings within the 100-mile garden. Chan Yunfei turned her body and was completely absorbed in undoing the restraints on the queen bee. Chan Liyun's eyes flashed. He confirmed Su Yu's direction and chased after Su Yu. Whiz. A tall silhouette descended in a place that Su Yu was at before. No one was in that area and no tracks were found. Chan Liyun was indeed thrown off track by Su Yu. He frowned and he had an extremely ferocious expression. Beast. You are indeed fast at escaping. However, at that moment, an icy cold voice reverberated on top of his head. I have warned you already. Since you came looking for your death, don't blame it on me. Rustle. Amid the clouds in the heaven, a red light flashed and a shadow descended from the sky. It was Su Yu, who had been waiting. Su Yu felt guilty toward Chan Yunfei and not her little brother Chan Liyun, who could not differentiate right from wrong. Chan Liyun was not furious. Instead, he was delighted and he gave a light roar. Beast. For the humiliations that my sister had gone through, you will repay it with your blood. What he was really furious about was not the humiliations that her sister suffered. It was the fact that he was inferior to Su Yu in his sister's heart. We will discuss this after our fight, Su Yu said coldly. Chan Yunfei took a deep breath and treated the fight seriously. I will defeat you within 20 moves. Su Yu's gaze became dull. The spiritual energy in his palm surged and he was about to make his move. At that moment, his eyebrows twitched abruptly. Su Yu's expression changed slightly and he revolved his crystalline pupils. His gaze passed through Chan Leiyun and looked a distance ahead. After which, his expression changed abruptly. Not good. Your sister is in danger. In his crystalline pupils, a white shadow shrouded in black lightning was heading toward the cave with lightning speed. That white shadow was none other than the frightening spiritual white tiger. With just a thunderbolt, it could kill all the disciples who were at the second level of the ancient Xiangyun temple. It was unknown why, but that white tiger was attracted by the lingering smell of the five-color honey. Hence, it followed the lingering smell and headed straight for the cave. If it came into contact with Chan Yunfei, the consequences. Whiz. Without hesitation, Su Yu exhibited Ice Phoenix's divine wings and flew toward the cave with extra haste. Chan Leiyun became slightly stupefied and he laughed coldly immediately. Useless trash. You wish to find my sister and obtain her protection. Su Yu descended into the cave and pulled Chan Yunfei, who was undoing the restraints, on the queen bee toward him. There was no time to explain. Leave quickly. It's dangerous here. Chan Yunfei's face turned red and her charming body became stiff. She lost her thoughts and complied with Su Yu's actions to carry her in his arms blindly. Both of them then rushed out of the cave. At that moment, Chan Leiyun caught up with Su Yu. Having seen the scene, blood and fury rushed to his head. Let go of my sister. He attacked Su Yu with his palm. Su Yu looked toward the direction of spiritual white tiger. That white tiger was nowhere in sight. This caused the hair on Su Yu's body to stand and his heart to beat extremely fast. Leave quickly. The danger is here, Su Yu said urgently. Chan Leiyun looked around the surrounding and he grinned coldly. Do you think I will fall for such a trick? Keep your filthy hands off my sister. Without any more hesitation, Chan Leiyun flew closer to Su Yu. He readied his attacking posture and headed towards Su Yu's head. 5 Tigers Exterminating Dragon's Palm. 5 Tigers Exterminating Dragon's Palm, a legacy-level cultivation technique at Stage 2 top class. It was only a class away from achieving Stage 3. When Chan Leiyun unleashed his attack, violent spiritual energy surrounded his 5 fingers as though 5 ferocious tigers appeared simultaneously. Even if it was a dragon from the heaven, it would also be exterminated by that palm on the spot. Its power was firm, fierce and extremely explosive. It was the strongest palm technique within the depository of Buddhist scriptures. Although both of them were at Dragon Realm level 1 upper tier, it was difficult for Duan Yuanyu to last for 10 moves under the power of the 5 Tigers Exterminating Dragon's Palm. Su Yu was furious. Although the situation was so dangerous, Chan Leiyun still could not differentiate good from bad. At the very moment, Su Yu could not hold back anymore. Glazed ice flame. Titter. The fire cloud seal in between Su Yu's eyebrows twitched rapidly. A cold energy which made people feel as if it was winter swept through the clouds. Raging flames which covered the sky gushed out and covered Chan Leiyun, who was very close to it. Chan Leiyun laughed coldly. Do you think that the trashy cold energy that you used to deal with Wei Kang would be effective against me? His palm was shaped like a knife and 5 tigers exterminated the dragon. Pitter-patter. The scarlet raging flame was sliced open in the sky. However, before Chan Leiyun had the time to reveal a delighted expression, his expression turned serious abruptly. After Chan Leiyun sliced open the ice flame which was covering him, he realized that he had only sliced open 1/10 of the ice flame. There were 9 more layers of ice flame headed for him as if it were a tsunami. Rumble. Puff. Ah. As if numerous mountains crashed into him, Chan Leiyun gave a horrible shriek and spit out a huge mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with horror. Having not seen Su Yu for just a short 10 days, compared to the previous time, the power of Su Yu's ice flame rose greatly. Thump. As he was sent flying to the ground with a heavy blow, Chan Leiyun spat out a mouthful of mouth again and entered a semi-conscious state. His heart had been taken over by fear. Su Yu actually used one move to injure him fatally and also causing him to be half dead at the same time. Recalling that he approached Su Yu aggressively, the hair on Chan Leiyun's body stood up. Whiz. Su Yu's eyes were filled with coldness. He flew toward Chan Leiyun with the intention to give him a deadly blow and ruin his great opportunity to train in the ancient Xuanhuan temple. No. Chan Yunfei finally came to her senses. She struggled free of Su Yu's embrace, stood in front of Chan Leiyun to shield him, and requested for Su Yu to let her brother go. Her heart was extremely shocked. Her instinct told her that Su Yu was extremely strong. However, she did not expect him to be so strong to the extent that he could fatally injure her brother and cause him to be half dead with just one move. Su Yu's posture returned to normal and he shot a glance toward Chan Leiyun coldly. You should really be thankful that you have such a good sister. If not, your great opportunity to train in the ancient temple will be ruined. After being reprimanded by Su Yu, Chan Leiyun became as silent as a cicada in cold weather. Although he was an arrogant person, he did not dare to talk back to Su Yu. Thank you Junior Su for giving us mercy. Although Chan Yunfei was furious that Su Yu went a bit too far, she could not bring herself to hate Su Yu as Su Yu only attacked because of her brother's aggressiveness. Su Yu's expression turned slightly serious. Leave quickly. It is not advisable to stay here for long. He exhibited Ice Phoenix's divine wings and escaped. Chan Yunfei looked into the horizon. After which, without hesitation, she brought her brother along with her, followed Su Yu and left their current location quickly. A few minutes after they left, in the sky, a white tiger appeared out of thin air. The black thunderbolt on its body dispersed and its frightening appearance scared away tens of thousands of beasts. It gave off a dignified air which signified that it was the king of tens of thousands of beasts. The white tiger's eyes glared at the direction that Su Yu went to and talked like a human. Hey, it's that little kid from the Phoenix cabinet. He actually didn't die. Previously, the white tiger had used a thunderbolt. According to its calculation, Su Yu should have been killed by that thunderbolt. Forget it. For the sake of the Phoenix cabinet, I will not hold it against you. After the white tiger finished talking, it flew into the cave. The queen bee, which had removed its seal and regained its abilities as a dragon realm level 2 peak, crawled on the floor at once and shivered non-stop. The white tiger shot a glance at it indifferently. With just a glance, the queen bee gave a horrible shriek and its body exploded with a loud bang. Although it did not die, it was bleeding. After breathing in a breath of the lingering fragrance, the white tiger revealed a slightly drunk and surprised expression. 100-flowered honey. No, it is a smell from the raw materials of the 100-flowered honey. Even if it were the white tiger, it also gave a slightly drunk expression after inhaling a breath of the lingering fragrance. Moreover, he mentioned the existence of the 5-color pollen. The honey was fermented by you. Are there any extra, and where is it? The white tiger's eyes were burning with excitement. The queen bee trembled with fear. In the hands of that silver-haired human being. That small ant. The white tiger was surprised and its eyes glowed fiercely immediately. If this is the case, then I cannot let you off. Rustle. A black lightning flashed and the white tiger disappeared from the cave. Su Yu only stopped running after running wildly for about 100 miles away. That white tiger could sense any situation within 50 miles radius. Chan Yunfei did not see the living that Su Yu referred to as dangerous. However, after running for a few minutes, she could clearly sense a frightening gaze sweeping past her. Even though that gaze was about 10 miles away, her inner strength was vibrating and she had the jitters. At the very moment, Chan Yunfei's heart was still beating quickly and she was also still trembling slightly. Su Yu, what is that? Why is it so frightening? Chan Leiyun's face had a ghastly pale expression. He had also felt that frightening gaze. When he recalled himself going after Su Yu recklessly, he felt fearful. Su Yu's eyes became serious like never before. I don't know what kind of divine being it is. However, it is extremely dangerous. If we are under its attack, we had better commit suicide. In that case, we would be transported out of ancient Xianyu Temple safely. Once it makes its move, I am worried that under a situation where we could be killed within a few seconds, there will not even be opportunities for us to be sent out. The principle as to how the transportation in ancient Xianyan Temple worked was that it had sensed that the disciples who were training were in a life-threatening situation. However, if it were only for a short while, the ancient Xianyan Temple might not be able to react in time and the person would end up dying completely. Chan Yunfei and Chan Leiyun gasped. Senior sister, I am going to look for a place to train in seclusion. What are the both of you going to do? Su Yu questioned. Chan Yunfei said, I will naturally join up with Ji Hongshu. Su Yu's eyes implied that he did not understand. Could it be that Junior Su doesn't know? All the dragon disciples would gather in front of the lake. Chan Yunfei was slightly stupefied. After which, she understood. Oh, seems like he had forgotten. Brother Su had just entered the ranks of the 10 great disciples. Hence, we didn't have enough time to inform you. Chan Leiyun looked at Su Yu with veneration and revealed a serious expression to gain Su Yu's favor. To all of us who are in the dragon realm, the effects of the medicinal herbs within the 100 Miles Garden are limited. In addition, the previous batches had also picked the medicinal herbs many times, resulting in a shortage of medicinal herbs that are effective to us. The Jade Lake ahead of us is the real place where all the Dragon Realm disciples like us develop ourselves. There are many spiritual plants that contain pure energy which grew at the bottom of the lake. After picking it, our cultivation bases can progress excessively. Before the Xianyan contest, Ji Hongshu warned us. If we are able to enter the second level successfully, we will gather in front of the Jade Lake immediately. We would then work together to pick the spiritual plant. While my sister, Duan Yanyu and I were on our way to the Jade Lake, we were attacked by the poisonous black bee, causing us to stop for a full 10 days. Brother Su managed to fight into the top 10 unexpectedly. Hence, Senior Ji Hongshu did not manage to inform you in time. So that's what happened, Su Yu understood. The so-called Jade Lake should be that lake ahead of them which was 50 miles broad. According to Su Yu's observation, the living beings were at least Dragon Realm level 2 and the strongest living being was at Dragon Realm level 3. What kind of spiritual plant grew at the bottom of the lake that caused Ji Hongshu to be attracted by it? Thank you for the information. I will find somewhere to train myself in seclusion. When the time comes, we will meet again. Su Yu bid farewell to Chan Yunfei and her brother. He then looked for a remote corner and dug an underground cave. The surrounding of the underground cave was heavily sheltered to prevent the smell of the honey from leaking outside. Previously, he was careless and remnants of the smell of the honey were left behind, attracting that white tiger as a result. The same mistake, Su Yu would not make it twice. Su Yu took out the 5-color honey and pondered for a while. He then poured out only 1/3 of the honey from the jade-like bottle. Why do you not want to drink everything? For this kind of honey, it is only useful for your cultivation base when you swallow it for the first time. You should swallow more of it and strive for a greater breakthrough in your cultivation base, Yunyazi said abruptly. Su Yu's expression turned grave and he shook his head. The honey's smell which can make me drunk is too thick. The smell itself can make me sleep for half a day, let alone the pure liquid. If I swallow too much of it, I might sleep for a very long time. Yunyazi revealed a satisfied smile. Glad that you understand. However, if you swallowed the whole bottle, the consequences would not be as simple as falling asleep for a long time. Instead, it would be an eternal sleep until your body decomposes, causing you to die. Su Yu's heart clicked and he rejoiced secretly. Even if it is 1/3, from my conjecture, you will sleep for about half a month. That is the best that your body's digestive system can do. Half a month? Su Yu nodded his head slightly. Half a month's time was still within an acceptable range. After checking that the underground cave was concealed and well guarded, Su Yu swallowed the 5-color honey on the spot. If the poisonous black honey's energy were as boundless as a big river's wave, then in front of the five-color honey, it would be a breaking wave within the sea. The five-color honey's energy was frightening as it was 100 times stronger than that of the poisonous black honey. An amount of energy that could suffocate people entered the bones of Su Yu's four limbs and fused with it. That energy then caused Su Yu's cultivation base to progress continuously with a swift and violent force. At the same time, that frightening scent which could make people drunk made Su Yu's vision go blank and fall into a deep sleep in a short amount of time. After half a day, a white tiger flew past the underground cave. Its eyes were glowing with thirst. To a spiritual beast like me, that superb honey is a great tonic. Where exactly is that ant? The Divine Nine Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 194. Breaking into the Dragon Realm. Its gaze scanned past the crypt, but it did not spot anything. The white tiger flew away. In that half a month, multiple experienced disciples immediately fled when they caught a glimpse of the tiger. Half a month later, Su Yu slowly opened his eyes in the crypt. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The spirit energy was raging, forming a vortex as it entered Su Yu. The richness of the spirit energy formed a small black cloud above the crypt. The air was flowing rapidly, forming a wild wind and causing the flowers around to dance wildly. The weird phenomenon spread. Some dragon realm creatures were looking on seriously. They knew that this was a sign of a dragon realm. Spirit energy that was almost liquefied was maniacally entering Su Yu's body, putting pressure on the spirit energy already in his body. Su Yu found it hard to breathe. He felt that he was going to explode from all the spirit energy in his body. But when the spirit energy reached its peak, it began to compress. The rich spirit energy condensed into drops of liquid, gathering at the energy center. It was like a well of spirit energy. The liquefying of spirit energy was a sign of a dragon realm. Liquefaction meant that one could store even more spirit energy. That was the reason why dragon realms were more powerful than holy kings. But Su Yu's transformation did not end there. The power of the five-color honey was startling. Spirit energy did not stop pouring into Su Yu's body, causing the dragon realm cultivation level he had just reached to improve even further. In a few minutes, it stopped at dragon realm level 1 upper tier. The ancient pollen had achieved its potential in your hands. Yunyazi exclaimed. 7th level holy kings need loads of time in cultivation to pass the hurdle into the dragon realm. But you just reached 7th level holy king and easily slipped into the dragon realm under the effects of the five-color honey, reaching even the upper tier, much to the envy of many. Su Yu was surprised. Dragon realm was once an unattainable level, but today he had finally achieved it. Back then at the Xuanhuan Island, he could only look up to Xuanhuan who was in the dragon realm. But today, he had stepped into the same level as him. If Li Guang knew about this from his grave, would he be proud of Su Yu? Buzz, buzz, buzz. Su Yu's brain trembled. The dormant 9-dragon cauldron had begun vibrating violently. A ball of red liquid fell out from within. Atop the cauldron, the red dragon, which had a third of its body turned into crystal, had another third of its body crystallized. A ripple of space silently escaped from Su Yu's right eye. From his experiences with the crystallization of the purple dragon, the more the dragon turned into crystal, the more powerful it became. The purple dragon was time acceleration. The red dragon was space manipulation. Now, his space manipulation became more powerful with the crystallization of the red dragon. Previously, his space manipulation could only target a single object and the object could not be too big. The largest object he transported was back when he was being chased by Hua Zhilan. Su Yu had teleported him and Mo Wu at the same time. Now he could shift something the size of a hill. Furthermore, the distance he could shift something had expanded by a 10-mile radius. Within a 10-mile radius, anything that Su Yu's red eyes passed could be forcefully shifted by him. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat when he realized that Yunyazi could observe the weak space ripple. A ghostly figure flickered into existence, staring at Su Yu as if it wanted to look through Su Yu's brain. Yunyazi had a serious look for the first time. That's weird. there's a wondrous object in your soul, blocking even my soul out. The strength of Yunyazi's soul was far from ordinary, but there existed something that he could not see through. Su Yu's expression changed. His biggest secret was the 9-dragon cauldron. He did not know whether to tell Yunyazi or not. Everyone has their secrets. I am no exception. I am only curious. I will not force it out of you. Yunyazi laughed heartily, returning into the jade box. With a sigh of relief, Su Yu was grateful for how magnanimous Yunyazi was. If it was someone else, noticing that a person of weak cultivation level was in possession of a precious treasure, their first thought would be to take it for themselves. Shifting his gaze, Su Yu immediately turned to leave. He could not stay here for too long. The strange phenomenon just now was shocking, and the air currents had spread the lingering fragrance of the 5-color honey outwards. A few minutes had passed. If he did not leave now, there was bound to be trouble. Su Yu broke open the crypt, flying in the air towards the Jade Lake, rendezvousing with Ji Hongshu. Creak. A terrifying aura descended. Black lightning flickered as a white tiger descended. Looking at the broken crypt, the eyes of the white tiger flashed with fury. What a crafty lad. It had passed by this area many times, but did not sense Su Yu's presence. Unless you leave the 2nd level, otherwise don't dream about escaping from me. The white tiger grunted, turning into black lightning as it vanished in the air. At the Jade Lake, Ji Hongshu and Xuanhuan were standing side by side, gravely looking at the horizon. Ji Hongshu was calm. It is rumored that the guardian beast of the 2nd level is guarding the divine herbs in the fence, the ice and fire herbs. But no worries, it seems to not mind us. Xuanhuan nodded his head, calculating as he twirled his finger. In 3 days, it will be the 1-month deadline since we entered the ancient Xianyan temple. During that time, the 3rd-level eternal ladder will descend. Are you planning to enter it? It is rumored that every step of the eternal ladder was good fortune. If you manage to reach the end, you will obtain heaven-shaking fortune. The eternal ladder was a forbidden ground that the master of the Lixian faction had not allowed anyone to enter. Amongst all the generations, there was no one who made it back alive when they entered. It did not matter if they were the son of the heavens or world-class geniuses. They were all eternally trapped in the incredibly mysterious eternal ladder. Hearing this, Ji Hongshu's eyes showed a struggle, then he lightly shook his head. Unless there's no other way, I would not enter. In the history of the faction, there were too many geniuses who had entered with confidence but none have returned. Even the genius 2nd elder, the first ever genius of the faction, had stopped before the eternal ladder, never once entering it. Whoosh. A red light flickered in the sky. Su Yu had arrived at the Jade Lake. With his vision, it was incredibly easy to find out where they were gathering. At this moment, 3 Dragon Realm Level 1 disciples were guarding at the edge of the lake, waiting sternly. Sensing Su Yu's arrival, they looked in the direction, forcefully letting out a smile. Of the 3, there were 2 who had relied on Su Yu to find the advancement stone in the meteorite forest. Junior Su. The 3 lightly nodded, paying a little respect. Su Yu surveyed around. Where are the other disciples? The 3 Dragon Realm disciples were cautious. Is anything the matter, Junior Su? I naturally came to answer the call of Senior Ji Hongshu to gather here, Su Yu nonchalantly said. The 3 looked at each other, 2 of them wearing uncomfortable expressions. Only the elder disciple of about 25 years of age lightly creased his brows. His name was Li Jun. He had relied on his own luck to find an advancement stone, not owing Su Yu any favors. He lifted his eyelids, observing Su Yu and putting on a fake smile. Junior Su, it's more suitable for you to return to the 100-mile garden. This is not a place where you can come and go as you like. He thought back to Chan Yunfei's reminded. Only Dragon Realm disciples got the notice. Su Yu understood. If it's like that. Su Yu stroked his chin. Dragon Realm upper-tier spirit energy suddenly emerged from within him. Crash. Li Jun could not defend in time, suddenly pressured by the tsunami-like spirit energy. His knees buckled, kneeling on the ground. The two Dragon Realm Level 1 lower-tier disciples behind him took several steps in retreat, their expressions as if they just saw a ghost. Dragon Realm Level 1, upper tier. In just a month? How is that possible? The two expressed in shock, unable to believe the scene before them. When Su Yu entered the ancient Xuanhuan temple, he was only a 7th level lower-tier holy king. Even if he had a stroke of good fortune, Dragon Realm Level 1 lower tier should be the limit. It is to be noted that after breaking through into the Dragon Realm, breaking through to the next tier would require much time. Normally, it would take half a year to advance a tier. Slower people might even take multiple years. Su Yu being Dragon Realm Level 1 upper tier indeed shocked them. Li Jun's forehead was laced with cold sweat, his face full of fear. He got up with difficulty, respectfully replying. Junior Su, Senior Ji had led the others into the lake to pick spiritual plants. Whilst he was speaking, the water splashed, multiple figures flying out of the lake. Their expressions were that of surprise and anxiety. They were the Dragon Realm disciples that entered the water. At the same time, deep in the water came furious howls. One of the howls was exceptionally terrifying, harboring the spiritual power of a Dragon Realm Level 3. Those that charged out of the water were all drenched, their expressions full of surprise. Li Jun and the rest on the shore anxiously circulated their spirit energy, their faces wearing pained expressions. Su Yu creased his eyebrows, spirit energy gathering at the surface of his body. That roar caused him to feel a little faint. It's a Dragon Realm Level 3 that uses sound to attack. Su Yu's gaze was serious. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 6 figures flew out. The 4 great disciples, Chan Yunfei, and her brother. Chan Liyun's face was pale as if he just escaped from death. What a scary heaven-howling fish. Its howl had already shattered the hearts of 6 of the disciples, causing him to be transported out. Su Yu's gaze turned serious. There were already 6 Dragon Realm disciples transported out. Junior Su, you've come. Chan Yunfei glanced at Su Yu, freezing for a moment before showing surprise as she ran toward him. Her eyes were filled with happiness. Seeing the scene before her, Mo Wu raised her eyebrows. When did Su Yu and Chan Yunfei get so close? Ji Hongshu smiled. Junior Su, you've also come. Su Yu responded to them individually. Junior Su, the spiritual plants at the bottom of this lake, the dragon scale plant, harnesses a pure water spirit energy. It has great effects in helping dragon realms achieve a breakthrough in their cultivation. Chan Yunfei shook the plant in her hand. It was black in color, laced with pitch-black scales. Within it was a powerful energy, about a third of that of the 5-color honey. Surveying the surroundings, only Ji Hongshu and Chan Yunfei had obtained it among the 6 of them. The rest of the 4 not only had empty hands, but they had heavy injuries. They all shot jealous glares of varying degrees towards Chan Yunfei. They had dived into the lake with the purpose of finding the dragon scale plant. The process was difficult and it was insanely hard to obtain. Xuanhuan glanced over, spotting Su Yu. Hatred and humiliation suddenly boiled in his heart. The one that had forced him to castrate himself was Su Yu. But what gave Xuanhuan a little relief was the fact that he had already broken through to Dragon Realm Level 2 upper tier since he had arrived. He believed that a month later, he would benefit even further. At this moment, he saw that Su Yu knew Chan Yunfei, and gave a cold remark. The defense of the heaven-howling fish is getting stronger. The team that enters the water the next time should be as elite as possible. I suggest that only the 4 great disciples enter. The rest of the people should stay on the shore. Safety should be the top priority. Ji Hongshu gently nodded. This is the only way. The heaven-howling fish was extremely powerful, even he would have some difficulty dealing with it. Too many people entering would startle the heaven-howling fish, doing more harm than good. He long had the thought of streamlining the team but did not suggest that in consideration of Chan Yunfei and her brother's feelings. Now that Xuanhuan had suggested this, he naturally had no objections. Chen Jokesen coarsely nodded. I agree, after all the teams need abilities, not luck. What he meant was that Chan Yunfei and Chan Leiyun were just there to fill in the numbers and got lucky. Mo Wu's lips quivered. She had wished to say a few words for Chan Yunfei and her brother, but seeing how close Chan Yunfei was to Su Yu, she felt a little uncomfortable. The words that had already reached her mouth was retracted. 3 of them agreed, and 1 remained silent. A decision had been reached. Chan Yunfei's face was flushed with shame, her heart bitter. Were she and her brother being abandoned as burdens? Chan Leiyun's face turned red, hanging his head down in shame. Certainly, they were the weakest in the team. They were not very effective against the heaven-howling fish. At this moment, Su Yu's gentle voice circled around Chan Yunfei's ears. Senior, why not the 3 of us form a team? It seems like my abilities are too weak to be considered by them. Ji Hongshu froze slightly. He had wanted to rope Su Yu into their team. He was extremely confident of Su Yu's abilities. But he had not managed to say anything when Su Yu made his decision. Chan Yunfei's eyes were full of gratitude. In the awkwardness, Su Yu had helped her once again. There was a ripple in Chan Yunfei's eyes, her cheeks blushing. I guess we should take care of each other. She understood Su Yu's exceptional abilities. With him in the team, there was a chance that they could get the Black Dragon plant. Seeing how Su Yu cared for Chan Yunfei, Mo Wu glared, grunting in a pique. Who cares about you? After some rest, Ji Hongshu and the other 3 entered the water once again. Chan Yunfei had just digested the Black Dragon plant, her cultivation level of Dragon Realm Level 1 peak improving by 30%. She opened her eyes, full of surprise. If I can get 2 more dragon plants, I could break through to Dragon Realm Level 2. It could only improve 1/3 of your cultivation level. Su Yu was a little disappointed. Su Yu was used to breaking through entire tiers of cultivation levels. He was slightly disappointed by the effects of the Black Dragon plant. But he accepted that after he considered the difficulty of breaking through in the Dragon Realm. If the Dragon Realm was as easy to advance as a Holy King, Ji Hongshu wouldn't only be at Dragon Realm Level 2 peak. Are there only black dragon grass at the bottom of the lake? Su Yu asked. Chan Yunfei shook her head. Of course not. Other than the Black Dragon plant, there are 2 other spiritual plants. One being the White Dragon plant. It could allow users of Dragon Realm Level 3 and below to immediately break through a tier. It's 3 times more powerful than Black Dragon plants. Oh, light flashed in Su Yu's eyes. There's another spiritual plant called the Divine Dragon plant. It is said that Dragon Realm Level 3 and below who consume it would improve their cultivation level by an entire level. Su Yu's pupils dilated. An entire level. Wouldn't that power be equal to the 5-color honey? But white dragon plants are extremely rare, and are all closely guarded by the heaven-howling fish. There's no way to get close. As for the Divine Dragon plant, it is rumored to be in the belly of the fish. Chan Yunfei laughed bitterly. Su Yu thought for a moment, lightly nodding his head. All right, let's go down too. Chan Yunfei said. All right. With the powers of the 3 of us, let's hope that we can take back a Black Dragon plant. Black Dragon plant? Su Yu let out a meaningful look. My goal is not the Black Dragon plant. Chan Yunfei took a breath. Could you be thinking of the White Dragon plant? But Su Yu laughed, the glow in his eyes spreading forth. My goal is the Divine Dragon plant. The Divine 9 Dragon Cauldron. Chapter 195. Estranged. Crash. When the waves splashed, 3 people leaped into the lake. Su Yu revolved his crystalline pupils and saw the situation within the lake clearly with a look. The lake was 15 miles deep. At its deepest part, there were 3 ruins that were 100 feet broad each, and they stood side by side. Hundreds of black dragon plants grew in the ruins that were at the sides, and the black dragon plants were also scattered everywhere in the 2 ruins. Only in the middle ruins, among the tens of black dragon plants, there were 4 or 5 plants that were sparkling and shaped like night luminescent pearls. It had white bud scale which covered its body gracefully, causing it to be elegant and beautiful. That was the extremely rare white dragon plant. At the same time, it was also the legendary medicinal herb with its effects greater than that of a top-grade marrow-cleansing elixir that the faction master mentioned. However, the middle ruins were surrounded by an eel that was 1,000 feet long. It gave off an aura of a dragon realm level 3, causing Su Yu to feel fear. Is that the heaven-howling fish? Su Yu's heart turned serious. 6 dragon realm disciples' hearts were shattered by its vibration and transported out. At the very moment, the 4 great disciples went near the ruins carefully. The 1,000-foot-long eel did not notice them. It closed its eyes and continued to rest. When they were 30 feet within the ruins, the 1,000-feet eel opened its eyes abruptly. Its fierce and black eyes were overflowing with a crafty expression. 1,000 feet. Roar. The eel, which was taking a short rest, launched an attack abruptly. It opened its mouth and emitted a strong sound wave. Crash. The frightening sound wave caused the water current to circle around, resulting in a great disturbance in the lake. In an instant, the 15 miles deep lake was in a turbulence. The sound waves passed through the water and passed through everyone's body. As they were subjected to the sound wave attack at a close range, Mo Wu and Xuanhuan's whole body turned stiff. Their blood energy and spiritual energy became stagnant and their hearts compressed slightly as if they were about to explode. Even Xuanhuan, who was strong, groaned. Ji Hongshu's snow-like face changed slightly and he quickly gave a light roar. As expected, it was pretending to not notice us. Everyone, pick your black dragon plant quickly and leave the lake. Among all of them, only Ji Hongshu had a normal expression. However, he was also quite fearful at the same time. He picked a black dragon plant and rushed towards the surface. Mo Wu's pretty shadow flashed continuously. She drew her sword from her waist and sliced the horizon. The swift and fierce sword energy cut off a black dragon plant and carried it towards the sky. Mo Wu revealed a joyful expression. She extended her jade-like hands, grabbed the black dragon plant and immediately rushed to the surface. Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan were about to make their move. However, a frightening black shadow disrupted the water current and headed for them. The expressions of both of them changed slightly. They gave up on the black dragon plant and retreated hastily. In no time, they caught up with Mo Wu and Ji Hongshu. The 4 of them had extremely serious expressions and they escaped together. Roar. The heaven-howling fish was unsatisfied. It swayed its 1,000 feet long body and chased away them quickly. The sound wave attack was always successful and it slowed down the speed of 4 of them. Attack at the same time. The expression on Ji Hongshu's snow-like face changed and he gave a light roar. Rumble, rumble. 4 of them were at Dragon Realm Level 2. Mo Wu was at Dragon Realm Level 2 lower tier, Xuanhuan and Xuanhuan were at Dragon Realm Level 2 upper tier and Ji Hongshu was at Dragon Realm Level 2 peak. When the 4 of them teamed up, their powers were so strong that it could shake the heaven and earth. However, the heaven-howling fish revealed a disdainful expression. Its head, which was as big as a house, clashed with the attack abruptly. Rumble, puff. The combined attack by the 4 of them was dispersed at that moment. The remnants of the waves rebounded onto the 4 of them. Ji Hongshu groaned. His strong body resolved the wave attack directly. Xuanhuan frowned slightly and he revealed a slightly pained expression. Xuanhuan bit his teeth and it was difficult to endure the pain. He had just made a breakthrough to Dragon Realm Level 2 upper tier and his abilities were inferior to Xuanhuan. However, Mo Wu was sent flying in an instant. Puff. The remnants of the waves attacked her abdomen and shook her 5 internal organs. Hence, she was fatally injured in the blink of an eye. However, using the energy from the rebound, she rushed out of the Jade Lake first. She coughed out blood, staggered and fell down on the shore. Whiz, whiz. Ji Hongshu and the remaining 2 of them returned to the shore after that. Apart from Ji Hongshu's strong body, which was unmatched, the rest of them were in dire straits. In particular, Mo Wu suffered internal injuries. Although they had managed to obtain the black dragon plant, they had also paid a heavy price for it. However, Mo Wu wiped off the blood at the corners of her mouth. Her beautiful eyes stared at the black dragon flower and smiled even though there was still blood in her mouth. Mo Wu, you will rest for 1 day and recuperate from your injuries. Ji Hongshu revealed a worried expression. No need. I can still carry on. Mo Wu rejected him with great resolve. Ji Hongshu frowned slightly. Making preparations won't delay the work. If you insist on entering the lake at your current condition, your injuries will become worse. What's wrong with my injuries becoming worse? Mo Wu's eyes were glowing with firmness. There is not much time left. Even if I were to die, I will still try to improve my abilities to the best of my abilities. Ji Hongshu found it hard to understand. Why was Mo Wu so persistent? Could it be that there was something in the world that was more important than her future? In the water, Su Yu had witnessed everything and his gaze turned serious. Although the faction's 4 great disciples worked together, the heaven-howling fish still managed to injure one of them seriously and also forced 2 of them to retreat. Its abilities had reached the level of Dragon Realm Level 3 peak. Su Yu, are we really going to go for the Divine Dragon Plant? Chan Yunfei held her elegant palm tightly and her heart felt anxious. Chan Leyun's lips moved. Putting Su Yu's thoughts in a pleasant way, it was audacious in the extreme. In a bad way, it was ignorant. The heaven-howling fish could kill the 4 great disciples easily. They only dared to go for the black dragon plants at the left and right ruins. They did not dare to go beyond their limits and go for the middle ruins. As for Su Yu, he was more concerned about the divine dragon plant in the heaven-howling fish's stomach. Although Chan Leyun wanted to hold Su Yu in veneration, he always withdrew his words when he was about to say them. Su Yu cast aside his unusual expression and said indifferently, "Naturally. However, before that, I need to do something else first. Both of you will lure the heaven-howling fish away for some time. I will take out something." Su Yu instructed. That. Chan Yunfei's pretty eyes turned slightly serious and she hesitated completely. Chan Leyun's expression turned ghastly pale. Brother Su, are you joking? Even after the 4 great disciples teamed up, they still ended up in dire straits. If this is the case, if it were me and my sister, wouldn't our hearts be shattered by its roar in an instant, causing us to be transported out? Su Yu smiled. If both of you agree to this, there will be great rewards for you after this is over. Moreover, both of you only need to lure the heaven-howling fish 30 feet away from the ruins and both of you do not need to get close to it. Even if it were luring it 30 feet away, the risk is also extremely high. Chan Leyun held his fist secretly and he felt angry. Su Yu's request was extremely absurd. Which request required him to escape from death narrowly. However, Chan Yunfei bit her lips slightly and her eyes flashed. After a long time, she said, "Understood. I will agree with your request. But, the favor that my brother and I owe you would be written off after this." Chan Yunfei's voice was filled with a bit of coldness. Sister. Chan Leyun was anxious. Chan Yunfei did not allow anyone to interfere. She did not look at Su Yu as she grabbed Chan Leyun and plunged into the deep waters. I have already decided that I will do this. I must definitely return the favor that I owe. By asking us to lure away the heaven-howling fish so that he could pick the spiritual plants, this is equivalent to forcing us to dig our own graves and also ruining our future in the ancient Xianyun temple. He used kindness to enhance his influence. What a despicable person. Chan Leyun roared angrily. Sister, I find that it is not worth for you. Your innocence has been stained and you have been taken advantage of by this hypocritical and evil person. Moreover, all of this is for nothing. Chan Yunfei bit her lips and her eyes were filled with disappointment that was indescribable with words. She had thought that Su Yu was a man of honor. He had helped her without asking for anything and her heart was secretly moved by him before. At the very moment, her heart felt bitter. If you want to blame someone, blame it on my inability to discern good and bad that resulted in us repaying a false debt. After this, there will be no more old scores between him and us as it would be written off. Chan Yunfei's heart quivered slightly and her eyes were filled with some tears. Both of them headed deep into the water and were about 5 miles away from the heaven-howling fish. 100-flower palm. Chan Yunfei's palm shadow appeared continuously and disrupted the water current. The palm attack passed through 5 miles and headed for the Heaven Howling Fish. After passing through 5 miles, the palm attack became weaker, but it landed on the Heaven Howling Fish. Although the attack was weak, it angered the Heaven Howling Fish, which was guarding the ruins. With a flash of its fierce eyes, the Heaven Howling Fish deflected the water current, went against the current and headed for the both of them. Run quickly. Chan Yunfi's flower-like face turned grave and she headed for the surface along with her brother. Whiz. However, the Heaven Howling Fish's speed was extremely fast and it caught up with the both of them quickly. The both of them had the jitters and they escaped at their full power. In no time, they had traveled 5 miles and they brushed past Su Yu. When they passed by him, Chan Yunfi's pretty eyes were cold as though she was looking at a stranger. Su Yu finally moved. Space-time manipulation. Su Yu's wine-red right eye emitted an unprecedented magnificent light. A lump of invisible space energy descended upon the world and enveloped the middle ruins, which were 100 feet broad. Move. After a light roar, the whole piece of middle ruins immediately disappeared into thin air, leaving behind a huge pit. The ferocious eyes of the Heaven Howling Fish, which was about 2 to 3 miles before catching up with Chan Yunfei and her brother, flashed abruptly. It gave up on chasing him and glared at the Su Yu's direction. 10 miles away from the bottom of the lake, there was a piece of ruins floating in front of Su Yu. 30 black dragon plants and 5 white dragon plants were fluttering quietly. Su Yu's artifact flashed and divine ice threads came out from it abruptly. Along with the white dragon plant, the 35 rare spiritual plants were cut off and tied up together. Su Yu immediately squeezed the pile of spiritual plants into his chest and rushed out of the lake without hesitation. Roar. The Heaven Howling Fish behind him gave an extremely furious roar. 1/3 of the ruins, including 5 white dragon plants which were rare, were forcefully snatched away from it. That roar caused Su Yu's body to turn stiff slightly. However, the good thing was that he was quite close to the surface. In addition, he had made preparations beforehand and he managed to rush out of the lake in one shot. Rumble. Bang. When Su Yu rushed out from the lake, a huge black shadow appeared atop the water surface and its house-sized giant mouth bit the sky fiercely. Su Yu had already flown high up into the sky. Having failed to land an attack, the Heaven Howling Fish fell back into the water with hatred. However, it did not leave straight away. It swam around the water surface and its ferocious eyes glared at Su Yu firmly. It roared and hit the water surface continuously, causing giant waves that were 1,000 feet high to form. It killed many Dragon Realm Level 2 fish demons with its vibrations unintentionally, causing the Jade Lake to be filled with blood along with dead bodies everywhere in an instant. The expressions of Ji Hongshu and the group of them changed greatly and they moved far away from the Jade Lake. When they gathered again later, they were still astonished as per before. Su Yu, what did you do to make the Heaven Howling Fish so angry? Ji Hongshu was extremely surprised. They had harassed the Heaven Howling Fish for a long time, but they had never seen it so furious before. Su Yu wiped his mouth awkwardly. I just took some of its stuff. Gao Xuan's expression turned serious. What have you done? If you angered it completely, entering the lake again would be as difficult as ascending to the heaven. Don't you think that you owe us an explanation? Rustle. Gao Xuan took a huge step and got close to Su Yu. You want to fight? I will accompany you. A prideful and charming body flashed in front of Su Yu and a pair of pretty eyes stared at Gao Xuan. Gao Xuan grinned coldly. Mo Wu, you are far from being worthy of being my opponent. If you want to scram from this place along with him, I will grant you your wish. After all, Gao Xuan had been stuck at Dragon Realm Level 2 lower tier for a period of time and he was rich in information. Hence, he made a breakthrough to upper tier not too long after entering ancient Xianyan Temple. However, Mowu had just achieved Dragon Realm Level 2 lower tier not long ago and she was still quite a distance away from making a breakthrough to the next tier. In addition, she had been injured by the Heaven Howling Fish's vibrations and she was indeed not Gao Xuan's opponent. What's wrong with that? If you want to fight, I will fight with you to the end. Mo Wu gave a cold roar and she drew her silver sword. Ji Hongshu frowned indifferently. Enough. Collecting the spiritual flowers requires all of us to work together. Now is not the time to fight among one another. When Ji Hongshu spoke, Xuanhuan retreated with frustration and gave a warning coldly. Let me warn you. Don't meddle in other people's business. You are the same as your master, a lunatic who is impossible to reason with. If not, don't blame me for sending you out of the ancient Xianyin temple and ruining your future as a result. Mo Wu's expression turned icy cold and it could not be determined whether she was delighted or furious. Su Yu, who was standing behind her, could feel her charming body trembling. It was trembling caused by anger. Insulting her master meant going against her. However, as she was unable to match Xuanhuan, she could only choose to endure. Senior sister, Su Yu tapped her soft and sweet-smelling shoulder. His heart was filled with gratitude towards her. Every time he was bullied and oppressed, Mo Wu would step forward bravely and defend him. Mo Wu turned her head coldly. After seeing that Su Yu's hands were empty, she bit her teeth and squeezed her black dragon plant into Su Yu's hand. She then said with a cold expression, "Take it. Strengthen your abilities so that I will not need to save you every time." Su Yu was stunned. He had seen it with his own eyes that Mo Wu suffered fatal injuries for the black dragon plant. She only obtained the black dragon plant after going through so many difficulties. However, at the very moment, she actually gave the black dragon plant to Su Yu. Ji Hongshu revealed an astonished expression. Mo Wu had actually given the black dragon plant which she obtained with all her might to strengthen her abilities to Su Yu. Senior sister, you have only managed to obtain this black dragon plant after so many difficulties. How could you give it to me? Su Yu was surprised. Who knew that Mo Wu laughed? Difficult. It is just a mere black dragon plant, why would it be difficult for me to get it? I can go to the bottom of the lake any time to pick another one. Never did she imagine that Su Yu had used his extremely strong eyesight and saw the scene of them picking the black dragon plant. Use it with ease. For this kind of thing, no matter how many you request, there will always be enough. Mo Wu gestured her hand in disapproval naturally. However, at that moment, her injuries flared up. She coughed once violently and blood came out from her mouth. Mo Wu covered her mouth hurriedly and her pretty face turned red. She glared at Su Yu fiercely. What do you think you are looking at? Since I have too much blood, is it not fine for me to vomit out some of it? Su Yu became stupefied on the spot and he was moved. Warmth flowed into his heart silently. After a long time, Su Yu revealed a warm smile. He took a step forward and held Mo Wu's palm. Unintentionally, Su Yu took out a pile of spiritual plants from his chest. He squeezed a pile of black dragon plants with a white dragon plant mixed in it into her hand. You are right. It is just a mere spiritual plant. Senior sister can use them at your own discretion. Even after you finish them, I still have some more. Having witnessed that scene, everyone was stunned at first. After which, their expression changed greatly. Ji Hongshu's swift and fierce pupils shrank abruptly and said astonishingly, "White dragon plant, and 10 black dragon plants." Xuanhuan was more astonished. How is it possible for you to have so many spiritual plants? However, after which, Xuanhuan's gaze turned cold. Humph. Despicable. When we were luring the heaven howling fish away, you took advantage of the opportunity to seize the spiritual flowers. How many spiritual flowers did you pick? Hand over all of them now. Rustle. Xuanhuan's eyes were filled with greed and murderous intent. He headed for Su Yu hastily. End of the chapter. The Divine Nine Dragon will be read in 5 chapters for every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Please leave this sound novel and press subscribe, follow, and the bell so you don't miss any new clips as well. See you.